welcome to yet another edition of Makeup and Wrestling, the weekly segment here on my channel where I do my makeup and I talk about AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite. And as you can see, we have a little bit of a change of scenery, and I did make sure to put on some fancier accessories and get a little more dressed up for the occasion, since tonight we have the build up to Full Gear and one of the most controversial things according to Twitter in a while, and that is the late dinner Debonair between MJF and Chris Jericho. So let's just jump right into things. Alright, so we started off the night with a bang. We actually had the first match of the World Title Eliminator Tournament Series, and this was a match between Wardlow and Jungle Boy. Now this was actually one of the better matches of the night in my personal opinion. I always enjoy seeing Wardlow wrestle. I don't think he gets enough airtime. He just spends obviously most of his time being MJF's sidekick, but he's a very talented guy and I feel like he can adapt to a lot of different styles. So it was really nice to see him against somebody more acrobatic, kind of like Jungle Boy, who does, you know, a lot more flips and off the top rope things. So it was a very cool matchup and I really enjoyed it. Wardlow, of course, picked up the victory. He did basically like this crazy ass power slam. He just took Jungle Boy and flipped him like a literal pancake. So hopefully after tonight we will get to see Wardlow a little bit more in action on Dynamite, even though according to the announce team he's been having quite a few matches on Dark. So again, I need to start watching Dark, but I just need to find a way to fit it into my schedule. It's been hard enough for me trying to figure out and find the time to film this series, and even though I have been able to get it done to some extent, I still don't want my episodes to be coming out by Saturday, but you know, we do what we can. I definitely feel like maybe I should do a better job and actually start watching Dark, so let me know if you watch it, let me know if it's worth my time. So next, we ended up finding out what happened after last week's Dynamite when Eddie Kingston was choking out Moxley. I guess eventually the refs were able to restrain Kingston to some extent, and afterwards Kingston had a whole bunch of choice words for Moxley. He said that Moxley sold out as soon as he went to the land of the entertainers and left him behind along with everybody else. He said that apparently right before Moxley left, he said that he was going to take everybody with him. He wasn't going to forget about his people. And when Eddie got left behind, basically his feelings got hurt and he became very bitter over time just watching Moxley succeed and find a beautiful wife to marry and making all this money. And he said that's the reason why he wants to make Moxley's life miserable right now, and he wants to force him into quitting the business and quitting AEW and quitting being the champion. So after all these shenanigans happened, Jon Moxley then went to Tony Khan and requested a world title match at Full Gear, and it's going to be an I Quit match. So I think this is a nice little way for them to neatly wrap up everything in a cute little bow before Full Gear, so the title is at stake and Moxley is not sitting around looking like a weak ass champ. I think they did a pretty decent job putting that together, and plus I would understand why Kingston would want his revenge, because the last time that he faced Moxley he just straight up passed out. And from everything that we've learned about Eddie Kingston, if some of you weren't already familiar with him, I personally wasn't, he is the violent type. He likes to get aggressive. He likes weapons. So I'm very excited for this matchup. I think it's going to be very physical. And Eddie Kingston is very emotional. And I mean, honestly, both of them talking about each other feels very sincere. And I like feeling that raw emotion and being able to see that, because then it really gets you more hyped up and excited, and it really makes it feel like there's just something more at stake than just a title. We saw that clip of Eddie after last week's show. Then we proceeded to see a clip of Moxley in a pre-shot promo, and he started out talking about how much he loved Eddie Kingston and how Eddie was his friend for such a long time and they had so many great times together. And he said that He never left Eddie behind, and he shouldn't have to apologize for all the success he achieved somewhere else, especially when all he was trying to do is feed and provide for his family and himself. And then he really started going in on your boy Eddie. He started talking about how he didn't know this entitled, whiny, bitchy person, and that this person is not his friend. He said that at Full Gear, he's basically either gonna beat the crap out of him and get his friend back, or just beat the crap out of him. Point is, he's coming home the champ at the pay-per-view. That was pretty cool. The only thing that really caught me about the pre-shot promo is there was all these weird clips of what appeared to be Eddie Kingston in either like a tub or a shower, so I didn't really understand the point of that. I guess it was supposed to be like contemplative, evil, or fuck if I know. It was just a little strange. I always find it weird when I see pictures of like people in like the tub. Why do I need to see you in the tub? Then we had another qualifying match for the Full Gear World Title Eliminator Tournament. And this time it was Kenny Omega versus Sonny Kiss, and actually initially it was supposed to be Kenny Omega versus Joey Janela. But according to the announce team, Joey Janela was exposed or possibly tested positive for COVID-19, so they replaced him with Sonny. Now, probably the best part of this whole matchup was Kenny's entrance. He's definitely trying to reinvent himself again, and I'm totally into it. I am totally into all these indie guys finally reinventing themselves, because as a person who didn't really keep up with the indie scene, I would like to see a new iteration of them as wrestlers and as characters and as creative performers. And that's definitely been one of the positive things that I've always heard and seen about Kenny Omega, that he can countlessly reinvent himself and come up with new iterations of his character and really keep you hooked in no matter who he's in a rivalry with. The first thing that caught me off guard is when Justin Roberts started listing out all these numerous accolades and accomplishments of Kenny's, all these lists and awards and championships that he's gotten, which was really cool, but it freaking took forever. I was like, when is it gonna end? Then I thought Kenny was gonna come out, but no, we had two models or dancers or whatever they were come out of the other entrance, and they were holding and dancing with brooms, which was really weird. They weren't dressed like witches or anything Halloween. That was just like their whole thing. And then a little more instrumental music, and Kenny came out the other side. Maybe this was supposed to be some signifier of him sweeping away and getting rid of his old dusty self, and this is the new and improved Kenny Omega coming in all focused to fuck shit up. And he did. He beat Sonny Kiss in like, what, 30 seconds? It was definitely less than a minute. I don't even know what kind of maneuver he hit, but Sonny Kiss was knocked out. That was it. I'm definitely very intrigued to see how this new iteration of Kenny Omega's character really is going to be like. Is he just going to destroy every single opponent like that, and he's just going to be like that powerful badass dude and then get the AEW World title? I don't know, but I like this. I like this cocky Kenny. I can get into it for sure. Next, we saw two short interview segments, one of them being with Orange Cassidy and the other one being with Cody. The Orange Cassidy segment, he was getting asked about Cody and the TNT title rematch, and he was just bullshitting as always, not really answering the question. So then the short little interview segment with Cody was kind of interesting, because he was really playing into his backstage role as more than just a wrestler, and we saw him coming out with Arn Anderson from a limo, and Dasha went up to them and he was just talking up himself. Dasha was asking him about his weight gain, and he said that even though AEW is a light heavyweight company, he's been facing a lot of heavyweights and he wanted to really move up in weight class. And he said that he doesn't want to give Justin Roberts more names to call him, but then he proceeded to refer to himself as the Giant Slayer. So Cody definitely has a little bit of an attitude change and shift, and he's definitely playing up that he is, of course, more than just what we see in the ring. He still has the backstage role. So I don't know if he's going to try to turn himself low-key into like a evil figure company head. I hope not. That is so corny and played out, and it would just be really, really annoying. Like, been there, done that a million times, probably have had every single t-shirt. We don't need any more of that. But then later on in the night, they did announce the special stipulation for their match, and that being that this was going to be a lumberjack match, just so they could prevent the Dark Order or anybody else from really interfering with the match and just keeping the odds as even as possible. And we're back after a quick snack break and some crazy long dramatic lashes. So next we saw Eddie Kingston backstage, and first he hyped up Butcher and Blade and the Lucha Bros because they were competing tonight and he wasn't, and then he actually proceeded to say that everything that Jon Moxley said about him was true, and the only reason why he got like this is because it was a mean to an end and he had no other way of responding to the terrible situation that he was in, just watching his friend rise up, and the more Moxley rose up, the lower Eddie Kingston got and the worse his life got, according to him. And he again reiterated that he wants to make Moxley quit and he's going to take the title. So following that, we had the Lucha Bros match. It was Rey Fenix against Penta El Cerro, and this was the best match of the night and by far my most favorite match of the entire evening. They really went at it and gave it their all. They're actually brothers in real life, so I really liked that they played up the sibling competition aspect and really fought their hardest. This was definitely the hardest hitting and the hardest fought match of the night. They really just, oh my god, it was awesome. If there's a specific match that I would say watch out of the whole night, this would be the match. It was so enjoyable. There were so many high points and so many times where I just didn't know who was going to end up winning, and I love that excitement and that aspect. They're just amazing, and it was just such a pleasure to get the chance to watch this match. Like, oh my god. Again, favorite match of the night for sure. Nothing else that night beat this match. So the match ended with Rey using the Destroyer and putting out Penta. It was, oh my god. I cannot rave enough about this match. Please go watch it. If you don't want to take the time to watch any other part of Dynamite, please watch this match. It was awesome. So next we saw a small continuation on the Miro and Kip Sabian and best friends storyline. So it was like a less than 30-second promo of the best friends talking about how Santana and Ortiz, you know, fuck their shit up, and they fucked them up because Santana and Ortiz messed their stuff up on purpose, and they reiterated that, of course, as we all saw, it was an accident that Trent ended up going through that arcade machine. So then we see Kip and Miro, and Kip is insisting that they shouldn't have done that because that's his most prized possession, and yada yada yada. So something's gonna happen, but they didn't really want to give it enough time for us to actually see or hear them speak. So I assume they'll probably have some sort of a segment next week. Guys, I'm sorry if my energy is kind of getting low in this video, but your girl is sleepy. I'm filming this rather late in the middle of the night. We had Colt Cabana and 3 and 4, or John Silver and Alex Reynolds, hyping themselves up for tonight's matches. It was actually Colt Cabana that had a match coming up next, and he was saying how he's going to become the AEW World Heavyweight Champion, and Brody Lee is going to become the TNT Champion, and then obviously John and Alex were talking about how, well, actually it was more John hyping themselves up and talking about how him and Alex are going to become champions, and for some reason, I guess nobody really in the Dark Order likes Colt Cabana besides Brody Lee, so they did reiterate that point, and then Colt went on to have his match, and this was another qualifying match for the Full Gear Eliminator title tournament, just like the Rey Fenix and Penta match, if I didn't mention that, which I probably didn't, because I just kind of like slapped myself out of almost falling asleep yet again. So Colt Cabana versus Adam Page was pretty fun. I enjoyed it. It was a nice little match. I do think they had some pretty good chemistry, but again, it ain't gonna be that Penta and Rey match. Like, after that, y'all, none of the other matches could really compare. So Hangman ended up picking up the victory, and honestly, my whole prediction for the entirety of the Full Gear Eliminator World Title Tournament, God, that's such a tongue twister to say, is that it's probably going to end up being Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page versus one another, because to me that kind of makes sense. I mean, they're already kind of setting up the situation, and Kenny's coming up looking very powerful, but Hangman sure isn't. Like, he's just walking around like a confused little boy, even though he's a big ass dude. So then we had Team Taz coming to the ring, and all three of them looked like they meant business. Taz ended up calling out Will Hobbs for not responding to his offer after last week, even though we know exactly why he didn't respond. It's because Darby Allin got himself involved, as he always does. And that was actually Taz's next point, was to shit on Darby Allin and ask, like, hey, my guys right now are in the top ranking, way higher than you. It's fucked up that you stole their title shot. And I do kind of get it, because, like, how many title opportunities has Darby Allin gotten recently? Like, come on. It's a little too much. I get that people like him, but it really has been excessive. So, as you all already know, his next title shot is at Full Gear with whoever is going to be the TNT champion in 2 weeks. And Ricky Starks grabbed the mic from Taz, and reiterated that it should have been him, because, like, he's kicked some ass. He's kicked his ass, so he feels like it is unfair. Next, we had one of the best parts of the night, which was the Le Dinner Debonair. And I don't understand why everybody was so mad. Everybody always complains that, you know, this is stale, and everybody's copying WWE, and this and this and that. So, once the people give y'all something new, and y'all still complain. Basically, we saw exactly what happened at the steak dinner. Jericho and MJF were just staring each other down and not really speaking, and then they had a weird order off. Like, MJF ordered his steak first, and he ordered it well done, and then Jericho laughed at him, and he ordered a step below that, until both of them basically ordered a raw-ass steak on their plate next to a fully loaded baked potato. So that was pretty cute and funny, and then Jericho took over the conversation and brought up the fact that they need to, you know, explore and get to know each other and really see why or if MJF should join the Inner Circle. And that's when the musical number started. They started singing, and that totally threw me off, as I'm sure it threw everybody off. It was very unexpected. We all know that Chris Jericho can sing, but MJF, that was like a whole nother ball game, but he sounded pretty good. It was very like 1950s musical number. There was like all these background dancers that all of a sudden popped up, and these like little top hats. It was very cute, very classy. I personally enjoyed it. It made me think of classic Hollywood. So props for them for being so creative. They kind of did, I guess you would call the song My Shadow and Me, just talking about how MJF fits to Jericho because he's sort of like his shadow, you know, following in his footsteps, and they also get along so well together. Now let's move on to a match that I just did not give a single shit about, and that was the Britt Baker match versus Kylan King or something, whatever her name is. It was just a basic, boring old squash match, which I knew we were kind of going to have, but I was expecting Britt to face at least a better opponent. I'm just getting really sick of seeing her because I get it, she's supposed to have, you know, the heelish tactic and be this bitch of a dentist, but like, she's not doing anything interesting for me. Just her being a bitch dentist is like, okay. Like, I mean, she's not a bad wrestler, but I really don't care. She really needs to get into a storyline with somebody, and they really need to stop also showing somebody else besides her. Like, why does it always have to be just Britt Baker and like 2 more girls? Like, again, fix this, please. Now, after that, we had Darby Allin, again, living out one of his childhood 90s, early 2000s fantasies. And instead of being with Tony Hawk or whom the fuck ever, this time he was with Steve-O from Jackass, and he decided to do a very Jackass-like stunt, and that is put himself in a body bag and roll down a skate ramp like a crazy person. And honestly, from him, I wouldn't expect anything more or less. Now, last but not least, we had our main event, which was the #1 contenders match for the AEW World Tag Team titles at Full Gear, and it was Private Party versus Butcher and Blade, the Dark Order, and the Young Bucks. Now, this match was a little bit shorter than what I was originally expecting, but it was pretty fun. Even though the women's division in AEW is lacking, the tag team division certainly is not. There's so many amazing and awesome tag teams, and they put on an awesome show. Now, there actually was an interference during the match a couple of times, or something that actually put the match to a pause, which was Matt Hardy getting attacked by Sammy Guevara, and that is because Matt Hardy walked Private Party out to the ring, and as Sammy vowed the previous week, he is going to destroy Matt Hardy every single time he sees him. So that kind of put the match to a screeching halt for a little bit because everybody literally stopped and they were looking at what was going on. But there was a lot of action. It was a very fun match. And towards the end, when the tables really turned, I would say, because at one point it kind of seemed like maybe the Dark Order was gonna come out on top, which would be like really silly, because they kind of took control of the match. John Silver went like crazy and just started hopping off and hitting everybody. But eventually, once everybody got out in the ring, and as they were trying to come back in the ring, the only 2 people in the ring were the Young Bucks, and they just had a straight up super kick party. Everybody got tossed around and got a nice little super kick. And that's when really the Young Bucks officially took over the match. They isolated Private Party, and they went back and forth until one of the members of Private Party had gotten one of the Young Bucks in a pinning predicament. Now, I don't remember if it was Matt or Nick that was in this pinning predicament, but they ended up reversing that other member of Private Party, and they got the 1, 2, 3. So while they were in the ring, then FTR came and they handed him a beer, and they wanted to, you know, do a toast or whatever, but the Young Bucks were not having it. And then all of a sudden, some older person who was really trying to pass as a teenager comes to the ring and hits the Young Bucks from behind with a chair, and then we come to find out that it's Tully Blanchard, and him and FTR are attacking the Young Bucks and just softening them up and letting them know, like, hey, you might have won this big matchup, but we're still gonna fuck you up at Full Gear. Like, don't get it twisted. And that was the end to our show. And there you have it. This was what we got into on this week's edition of Dynamite. And honestly, in my opinion, besides the 2 awesome matches between Rey Fenix and Penta in the 4-way tag team #1 contender match, for the World Tag Team titles at Full Gear, and of course the late dinner Debonair between MJF and Chris Jericho, which caused an insane amount of hoopla. This was a pretty average show. Yes, there was a couple of segments and promos and things to advance some storylines, but I feel like for the majority of the night we focused on the same few people that we've been focusing every single week on Dynamite. So yeah, I would like to see what's gonna happen next week, and hopefully we get a real ladies match or feud or something. Throw us a bone. What's gonna happen with the women's title? Is that even gonna be defended or thought about at a Full Gear? Because right now it doesn't seem like it's gonna be a thing. So once again, I would like some answers on that. I did not forget. And I also am very interested to see if my prediction for Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page is going to come to fruition, if they're really going to face off at Full Gear and really bring all their issues to a physical crescendo. Also, I would like to see the situation with Darby Allin and Team Taz continue. Like, are they going to destroy Darby Allin one of these days or what? Because I'm getting really tired of all these little skits that he comes out and relives his childhood fantasies. I mean, honestly, if I was in his place, I would do the same thing, but it's just getting a little repetitive at this point. I'm also interested in seeing if the Lumberjack stipulation for the TNT Championship match in 2 weeks is going to make a difference between Cody and Cassidy. I personally don't know, and I also want to see if Cody really is going to lean more into this bossy kind of asshole side again. I don't want to see the powerful whatever figure storyline situation. No. Been there, done that way too many times. We are all sick of it. If AEW really wants to step away from the WWE comparisons, then please pump the brakes on that shit. I don't want to see it. So in my opinion, so far Full Gear is shaping up to be a pretty cool pay-per-view. I definitely am leaning more towards I'm probably gonna purchase it. At least I hope so. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, your predictions, your thoughts on my makeup. This video, do you think people really are blowing up the Le Dinner Debonair situation out of proportion? Because again, I think they are. And again, let me know what you're getting excited for the pay-per-view, if you're getting excited for it. What are you excited for right now? How are you doing? Just let me know all that good stuff down below. Links to my social media and all kinds of other stuff is down below in the description box. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye. What the fuck was that? Okay, that was weird. Ooh, okay. Maybe that's why it was weird, because my mind was subconsciously reminding me. But I do want to make this announcement really quick for all my non-makeup and wrestling fans. I will have some normal, I guess, to the rest of the channel, videos coming soon that are just going to have to do with makeup and beauty. I'm trying to work on those with the free time that I do have available at the moment. Like I said, lately I've been pretty busy just dealing with a lot of things in the real life, in the real world. So I will make the best possible effort to get those videos out as well in between these consistent makeup and wrestling videos. But anyways, yeah, take care guys. Love you. Mwah. Bye, and I'll see you in the next video. It's been hard enough for me. No ums. The